Hello, my name is Ethan, and welcome back to another episode of Path of Exile Metamorph League. In this episode, I asked you guys on YouTube to ask me any questions you had about the Baron build or anything coming up about the game or anything not specific about the build. And now I'm going to answer your guys' questions through this PowerPoint I've prepared for us today. Let's go through it. Let's start with the first question. All my friends tell me Necro builds are gay. His question is it truth? So I had to look up the definition of gay, and the first one about it being, the Necro build being homosexual, I don't think that applies, so I took the second meaning, and it said light-hearted and carefree. And then the example is Nan had a gay disposition and a very pretty face. And so, now bringing it back to the question, is Necro builds lighthearted and carefree? I think it's the only build in the entire game that's lighthearted and carefree because you literally walk around doing nothing as your minions do everything for you. It's the most carefree build in the game. Thank you for your question. Next one. Whoops. Do you think Necro and minions will be nerfed in 3.10? So to help me better answer this question, I went and looked at this stats website called PoE.Ninja. PoE.Ninja shows us stats for this league, and so just the normal Metamorph League, Necromancer is 27% of the population, and that's in the high levels. So majority of the game is Necromancer. And when we look at the Necromancer specific items and skills, we notice that the most used items are the Baron, Efficient Training, Shaper's Touch, Lethal Pride, Alberon's, Geoffrey's. All top 6 items are strength stacking Baron minion zombie build. When you look at the main skills, the top skill is Zombie, Skelly, and then Aspect of the Avian. Wow! Above Spectres. Okay. So as you see here, based on this information, and in the past on the way GGG nerfs things, we are nerfed once again in 3.10. I can't tell you what the nerfs are going to be, how much they're going to be, or any of the actual information, but all I can say is, based on these numbers, we're fucked. Okay, next. Are you going for a similar build in 3.10, and what are your guess on your current build's overall price tag? So I said yes, but I wanted to clarify that we don't actually know what our build is going to look like in 3.10. It's completely impossible because they could destroy this build. They could take the leech off the Baron. They could destroy the Baron, literally delete it from the game. Like, we don't know what they're going to do. So my better answer to this question is I will still be playing Necro and I'll still be playing minions in 3.10 as a league start for sure. What's my guess on my current build's overall price tag? Well, I listed about 2000x. This is very unclear because my items, I bought them all throughout the season, and some of my items are actually created by my viewers, and they're like god tier, mirror tier items, but no one's ever offered to buy them from me, so technically they have no price tag because if no one's gonna buy them, they're only worth what people are willing to pay for them. So I just put it at 2000x is a very safe estimate. Okay, slide 5. This question from Daniel was, can you do a starter for it? And in this case, he's talking about my Baron build. I made a 5x budget Baron build of the build, and he says make a build with a max budget of 100C and show us what it can do in the first few days of the league. Well, I will definitely be showing what I can do in the first few days of the league. I will be doing a lot more at the beginning of the league this season than I did in the last season. I want to help people more and like really try to help them through the very early bits of the league, how to make the early bits of currency, how to get started. We're definitely going to be doing that, and we're going to start from 0 currency and work our way up to thousands of X again. So now I wanted to show off in the budget build. So the one that was 5X, I just slotted in a 6-link Val Summon Skeletons, all 2020s, so this is free. And it had 230,000 DPS per skeleton, and you can have 10 skeletons, so this is 2.3 million DPS, because skeletons are broken at the beginning. If you're trying to go on a budget, it's all about skeletons. In the beginning of the league, let me just put it like this. All you need is damage. Once you have damage, you can beat most of the content that's like at the start of the game. You know, you can do the storyline, Katava, you can do mapping, and you can get up to pretty high tier mapping before your own survivability is actually required. And even then, hey, you dying isn't that big of a deal. You just run back into the map. As long as you don't use 6 portals when mapping, your build's fine, right? It's viable. So I recommend, when you're talking about budget builds, you're mostly looking at only skill gems and no items, and so this was the most broken minion in 3.9. This won't apply because they're gonna get nerfed by at least 50%. Okay, I'm currently using a Baron Necro build, and I'm trying to upgrade the build. I was wondering what high ends items I should search for. I'm assuming he meant high energy shield. Yeah, we're just gonna assume that because it makes the most sense. So, if you are a Baron, Necro, and you're trying to find high energy shield items in the game for this build, I highly recommend you look at Geforce Sanctuary. So, because you're a Baron build, I can already assume that you have 1,000 strength, and so 1,000 strength with Geforce Sanctuary, well, Geforce Sanctuary should give you like 400, energy shield or whatever based on super high strength. And so with the high energy shield from the chest plate, plus the flat energy shield, you then can get it doubled for having 1,000 strength, because this increases energy shield per 10 strength. So 1,000 is 200% increased energy shield. So the flat amount you get from Geoffrey's is then multiplied by the Shaper's Touch, and these are just very good items for energy shield in the build because you already have 1,000 strength. Also, I looked at Discipline in the past. Discipline's a great way to add flat energy shield to the build, costing some aura, mana reserve. You can also use a Clarity gem, and you can use the Clarity Watcher's Eye that gives you a percentage of your mana as energy shield, and then that will be multiplied by the Shaper's Touch. So that's how I would recommend you get high energy shield in the build. Hope this could help you. How do you sustain Blight maps? Buy them, or I see you always running Promenade Blight map. So the two options. For most of the season, I was buying my Blight maps, but near the end here, I stopped caring about the profit, and it was mostly just about the loot and making videos and having fun. And so I started using these Fractured Fossils, and Fractured Fossils were costing me 0.9 to 1x, so they're literally double the price of a normal map. So I was buying Fractured Fossils, putting them in a 2-socket resonator, mixing it with a metallic fossil so I couldn't roll Reflect Fizz, and because you can't re-roll, you can't chaos spam the mirrored copy can't be changed, so you want to guarantee that you can't get Fizz Reflect. And then yeah, I could buy like 100 Fractured Fossils, so I didn't have to buy 100 individual Blight maps. I did pay more, I make way less money, but it was a lot more fun. Alright, this one. What are your plans for your channel? Any new ideas for the coming league? So my first ideas that came into my mind were more guides, more community, more interaction, more help earlier. Earlier is important, because I think that I help a lot, but earlier could be better in a league, or before the league starts, which we're trying to do now, and staying focused on those things, not getting distracted by my own progress in the season, because Sure, some people come to watch me, but also a lot of them come for help, and I should remember that. I also want to be less condescending this season. I want to be more open to people's ideas right away instead of sometimes shitting on their ideas and then coming to their idea later. Yeah, I'm gonna be more open, or try to. And then the next question was, any new ideas for the coming league? A new idea for the coming league is to completely max out my build until I'm satisfied. So even more max than this season, guys. And then I want to play new builds and grow my understanding of the game. And so by new builds and understanding, I'm literally going to copy some top builds and just try them out and play them and have fun and learn about other things in the game and not worry about what people think about copying or stealing ideas. Bullshit. I'm just going to play the game, and it's going to be a lot more fun, and I hope you guys come on the journey with me and can learn with me. What would be the best anointment on the amulet? So I put the top 3 anointments. You can make your decision for yourself based on these 3. So the best 3 that I found is Death Attunement, Ravenous Horde, and Grave Intentions. Each one does its own thing. Death Attunement is really good for getting an extra Spectre. So if you're a Spectre build, you should probably go Death Attunement. If you aren't a Spectre build, well then it's only for more damage because you get an extra zombie. And it's consistency on your Spectre host chieftain for your power charges, and maybe an extra skeleton if you still have skeletons in your build. So mostly though, the Death Attunement is just some extra damage. And so I find that Ravenous Horde is similar damage, if not more, and you get minion move speed. And so I highly recommend Ravenous Horde over Death Attunement unless you're a Spectre build. Always Ravenous Horde. And then technically, Ravenous Horde is worse for bosses, though, if you don't have any ad phases to kill monsters to get the Onslaught, because if your monsters don't get Onslaught, Death Attunement is better. And if your minions don't need the move speed, Death Attunement is better. Now, if you don't need the damage from either of these, or you've already pathed into them yourself on the skill tree, then I highly recommend for defenses for your zombies and minions, you can use Grave Intentions for the chaos resistance. Also, that 10% of their life as energy shield will be more survival than you will ever understand. And if you're having trouble keeping your minions alive and delving, I highly recommend you try Grave Intentions, and the survivability of your minions will double. Double. Okay. This was an interesting one. A lot of pictures here. Okay, I'll just go straight to his question and explain why I took so many pictures. I see you don't wear Astromantis or Alberons. How do you get so much strength? Also, do you grab Grave Intentions or Indomitable Army? This was a lot of questions. But hey, Zach, I love the questions, man. Thank you for all the great questions. So, he pointed out Alberons and Astromantis, and how do I get so much strength? So, I'll start there. The first thing I did is I took a screenshot of my strength, 1563. I took a screenshot of my amulet and my boots that I use over the Astromantis or the Alberons that he's mentioning. Okay, so this is my amulet. It's literally a mere tier amulet given to me by a viewer named Caps. He made this. It cost hundreds of X. So when you're comparing this to an Astromantis, it's not really fair, because an Astromantis is like 60C, 100C, and this is mirrors. Okay, Alberons, compared to these boots are, again, very, very good. 35% move speed, meaning it's an item level 86 boot. It has tier 1 increased strength, T1 life, crafted multi-mod with... You cannot be frozen is a rare, like, a crafted mod. You can't get it on Alberons. It's one of the biggest reasons I use these boots over Alberons. Otherwise, I'd be using Alberons, not gonna lie. Okay, so now to compare. Citron, my amulet, versus Astromantis. This, if you remove my amulet, you lose 352 strength, 48 dex, and 14 int, 700 life. Holy shit. If I switched to an Astromantis, the reason you would switch to an Astromantis is not for more strength. My amulet gives more strength. The Astromantis gives more dexterity, intelligence, you lose strength, and you lose life. So this is why I can get away with not using an Astromantis, and I have more strength, and that's how I get my strength. Okay. Alberon's, on the other hand, does give me more strength than these boots. And so instead of 134, it's 162. But it gives you less life. I told you that this difference in strength isn't that big, and then the benefit of cannot be frozen, the benefit of 35% increased move speed, and I didn't show it, but there's extra life involved here too, and I find that these boots, they're more expensive as well. They're more expensive and better than Alberon's. It's an upgrade from Alberon's. You can start with Alberon's and you can start with Astromantis, but I highly recommend rare items. Okay, last question. How do you grab Graven? Well, actually, I could answer the how do I get so much strength. I use like 3 efficient trainings, which helps a lot for the strength. My boots are huge. My amulet is huge. I have a strength stacking belt. The Saka walls give strength. And I have my skill tree. I have allocated utmost might. He says, do you grab Grave Intentions or Indomitable Army? So I took screenshots of my skill tree. This is Ravenous Horde, showing that I allocate this with my Anoint on my amulet, because I like Ravenous Horde, and you don't need Grave Intentions unless you're delving. Indomitable Army, on the other hand, I've pathed to it, because also in the past I pathed to Elemental Equilibrium. But yeah, Indomitable Army is one of the best tank nodes for your minions, along with the Sacrifice node. And so I take Sacrifice and I take Indomitable Army, and then because I'm already down here, I can take this extra minion damage and mana. You could even, if you have Hatred, you could take Elemental Equilibrium. And I don't take Grave Intentions because you don't really need the Chaos Res on the minions unless you're delving. And so again, I only take Grave Intentions as an anoint on my boots. And you can't anoint regular boots, you can't anoint Alberon's, but I use these other boots called Stampede boots. They're Blight boots, and these Blight boots can be anointed. So I anoint Grave Intentions on the Blight boots, and that's how I get Grave Intentions for when I'm delving, because those are my delving boots, because you can move really, really fast while cycloning. Next. He says, Tyler says, why not add skeletons for more damage and extra clear? So just to show what he's talking about, because he's right, if you add skeletons in my chest plate instead of my cyclone setup, you get 749,000 DPS per skelly, and you can have 10 skellies, and then 40 when you click Val Summon Skeleton. And so just the 10 is like 7.5 million DPS added to your build. This is why he's saying, why don't you do this? Well, I don't need this to function, and then I get an extra 6 link of Cyclone. Also, skeletons don't do any damage unless you summon them. And so constantly stopping to spawn the skeletons is why I don't use them. And I would rather have the Feel Good build with Cyclone and the Desecrate Spirit Offering and the Castle Channeling and all that stuff. I'm already so strapped for gems in the build, sockets in the build. I can't afford to fit summon skeletons, but if we had more gem sockets and more options of gems to put in the build, 100% I'd be putting Val Summon Skeleton. It's the most broken minion in the game right now. Then I showed if I put it in my weapon instead of the zombies, look at the damage, dude. 1.1 million and 47 for the Val Summon Skeletons. 47. Okay, yeah, so you're right. If you need the more damage and the extra clear, you should add skeletons, but I don't. Now, Marcin said, no offense, but I hope that the Baron gets nerfed to the ground. All I could think about was going to Google and finding some sad dog pictures. Please don't nerf the Baron to the ground. Nerfs are fine, but why to the ground? Also, why would I take offense? Thank you for your comment. Do you think skeletons are a target to get nerfed? Well, I started as skeletons and completely funded my entire build off of League Start skeleton build. Then I went, okay, let's go look at some stats. So I've shown you what the normal Metamorph League looks like, where zombies are the best because currency doesn't matter because it's Metamorph League. But when you actually care about the item drops and how rare items are and no trading, etc., look at what starts to happen. So, SSF Metamorph Hardcore. 33% of Hardcore was Necromancer in solo self-found. I didn't look at the Hardcore Metamorph, my bad. But, if you look here, the top skill of solo self-found Metamorph Hardcore for Necromancers is Skeletons, 53%. Val Summon Skeletons, 30%. Raise Spectre, 20%, and Raise Zombies, only 17%. So our build falls off when you go solo self-found Hardcore because obviously it's going to be insanely hard, incredibly hard to fund this build. This is why I said zombies should be buffed and skeletons should be nerfed. It's like clear as day to me that clearly on a base level zombies are weaker, but it's only when you can fully invest and fully fund a build and max out a build that then zombies late game functionally feel better. It's kind of like comparing Cyclone to Wild Strike. It's like the Cyclone late game is always going to be chosen just because it feels better. Not even that it's actually stronger. It's all about functionality, which is what I say about the game in general. It's all about consistency and functionality. And so, clearly skeletons are the things actually getting us to these expensive zombie builds. And if we didn't have the skellies, then getting our high tier zombie build would be harder and delayed. And then, like, what do we do if they destroy skeletons? Seriously. Okay. So, you look at solo self-found, Metamorph, Hardcore, skeletons overused, obviously. Hardcore Metamorph, skeletons again. Val Summon Skeletons went up. So did zombies a little bit. You can see that the discrepancy between everything else went more to the top 4 in Hardcore Metamorph because you can trade. Zombies went up because trading. Spectres stayed the same. Val Summon Skeletons went up because you can trade for Val Orbs, you can trade for Val Summon Skeletons, and more people are willing to use it. I guess it's harder to get in solo self-found. Then you go back and you look at, okay, solo self-found Metamorph. So this isn't hardcore anymore. More Summon Skeletons, more Val Summon Skeletons, more Raise Zombie, and less Spectres, which is really weird, right? Why don't people like... Weird. So the overall consensus is that over half of the Necromancers use Skeletons in solo self-found Metamorph, Hardcore Metamorph, and solo self-found Metamorph Hardcore. And so what you see here is that Skeletons are almost for sure being the target of the nerf because they love looking at Hardcore and solo self-found because these are the true stats of what is overpowered on a base level. Just because we can fund a build with 2000x doesn't mean it's OP. If anything, the fact that my build is so expensive and it still has trouble delving at that depth is insane. Okay, next. Oh, that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this presentation I've put together. It was pretty fun. It was pretty interesting to think about answering each individual question and trying to do my best with helping people understand my points of views on things, or just the way I think, or some of the things that are coming up for the new league, you know. Hope this could be informative. I'm gonna be doing probably more of these. Let me know if you guys want more of these. I'm gonna take this opportunity to thank my Patreon and YouTube members who financially support the channel. So thank you to everyone who supports the channel. I couldn't do this without you guys. I thank my Patreon and YouTube members every video, and you guys can also get your name added to the end of the video by supporting below. Thank you guys for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!